Hello everyone and welcome to the latest episode of Two Trannies Talk with myself, Kim Justice.
And me, Sophia, both are.
Hey! It's been a while, but we're finally back, even though it's just in audio form, and we're ready to talk about various topics that have been coming up. So, Soph, what have you been doing lately?
Well, I have been watching films, playing video games, and yesterday I got called an anti-Semite, which is hilarious, because I really hate myself, don't I?
Yeah,
For
you're just like
people who
punching yourself in the face.
yeah, for people who don't get that joke, I'm Jewish, so being accused of being an anti-Semite is laughable.
Mm.
I'm sure that there are Jews who really don't like themselves, but I'm not one of them. It was all to do with the anti-Semitism debate which was happening in Parliament,
Mm.
and when I pointed out that one, criticising the Israeli government is not anti-Semitism, because criticising governments isn't racist.
Mm.
I mean, you criticise the British government, that's not racist. So why why is it racist to criticise the Israeli government?
Yes, I'd agree with that.
The Israeli
So,
government.
yeah.
Sorry,
Oh no, carry on.
the Israeli government doesn't get an exception. I mean, I know the whole thing with this is you're always going to upset someone talking about this sort of stuff. But my line is essentially, if you say the Israeli government are a bunch of murdering bastards, that's not anti-Semitism. If, however, you say that the Jewish people are a bunch of murdering bastards, that is anti-Semitism.
Okay. So when did this all get started, or like this whole thing, as someone who's kind of politically ignorant, like when did the real anti-Semitism accusations rise?
And it started with the rise of Jeremy Corbyn, and the accusation is that the influx of members in support of him from the radical left are anti-Semitic. Has the radical left had a problem with anti-Semitism? Yes and no. I mean, the trouble is a lot of people conflate anti-Semitism with the criticism of Israel, as I've just pointed out. And I'd point out that criticizing the government of Israel, I'll point it out again. I have to keep repeating this. I am getting fed up with having to repeat it, but you have to. Criticizing the government of Israel is not anti-Semitism. It's to do, I mean, where this really is coming from is there are interests in favor of the Israeli government who don't like the fact that Jeremy Corbyn is a vocal opponent of the Israeli government's apartheid regime towards the Palestinian people. And I, as a South African, know very well what apartheid is, and from all I hear and I see about the Israeli government policy towards the Palestinian people, it is an apartheid regime.
Right. Okay.
Basically, it's a means of trying to undermine Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah.
There is no way Jeremy Corbyn is anti-Semitic. I mean, I wouldn't fucking support him if he was.
No. What about people like Ken Livingstone?
You know me. I do call people out for being generally anti-Semitic. I've called out Alex Jones for being anti-Semitic.
What about Ken Livingstone? Because, I mean, he seemed to be a trigger for a lot of this stuff. Some of the comments that he was making.
Ken Livingstone. All right. I don't think he should have said what he said at the time when he said it.
Yeah.
I know. You see, the thing is, if he'd said that a couple of weeks later, sure, it would have still caused a fuss. But the thing is, this was like a week before the local elections and the London mayoral election.
Yes.
That was the problem.
Which I suppose is the unfortunate thing, because seeing as Livingstone, I mean, it's a time when, because I mean, Livingstone isn't necessarily the most influential figure in the party, but being that he was London mayor for 8 years, That's like one of the times then when people would deign to actually talk to him, and then he comes out with shit like that.
Yeah, I just think it was really ill-advised to say what he said.
Okay. So, what films have you been watching lately?
Well, I was watching Bullitt the other night, which it's 50 years since it was released this year.
Yes.
Highly influential film for one reason only, which I'll get to in a minute. But to tell you how influential this film is, there was a whole slew of cop films in the early 70s, Dirty Harry, The French Connection, The Seven Ups, Friends of Eddie Coyle, and also the TV series The Streets of San Francisco. None of those would have existed without Bullitt.
Yes.
And it's highly influential for one reason. It's Car Chase.
Oh, God, yes.
Which is one of the most famous cinematic car chases there's been.
One of the coolest, too.
Yeah. And I will say Steve McQueen himself was the epitome of cool. And if you have to ask why, you're a fucking idiot.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
You fucking idiot. Well, no, I mean,
Yeah.
he was. I mean, just the cars, you know. He is that image. Like, he is one of the first things you think of when it comes to cool, especially in that film. Like, that, I think, is perhaps his most iconic.
As soon as I saw that film, I can't drive for various health reasons, but I saw that film and I really wanted to either either ride in or drive a Ford Mustang.
Yes, absolutely. I think I was the same when I first watched it.
Yeah. Funny enough, Peter Yates, who directed the film, got the gig because Steve McQueen had seen Robbery, which was a British film. It's being British. And you know the reputation about all criminals drove Jags. You've heard that, haven't you? Yeah.
Oh yes.
But there's actually, I reckon this originates from the film The Robbery. Sorry, it's called not The Robbery. It's just called Robbery, which is loosely based on the great train robbery. But it's famous for the first scene in it, which is really suspenseful, really, really is, and the car chase through London using Jag Mark IIs. And I reckon there's a bunch of criminals doing this, I would add. So this is why I reckon that the reputation that criminals drive Jags.
Drive Jags, yeah. Jags are a car for criminals and cads.
Yeah.
It's like one of my friends, like, just always insists, as much as, like, they break down so often, just insists on always having Jags, like old Jags. Even though they're like pretty much one of the most impractical cars in existence.
Yeah, but I would say that the E-Type Jag, there has never been a car more beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and probably one of the great British designs.
It makes you patriotic, doesn't it? One of the things that makes you proud to be British.
Oh yeah, there is actually a guy down the road who owns one.
Oh.
I walk past it often.
I'm going to have to, next time I come up, I'm going to have to just go there and just stare.
Actually, funny enough, where I used to live, there was an alleyway down into town. And one day, me and a friend were walking down this alley, and we noticed that parked outside this house in the alleyway was a Harley Davidson chopper. And basically, we were just looking at it, and the owner comes out, and he had this look on his face like, how dare you even just look at my motorbike? Fuck, like, if you're driving a Harley, you know, you're riding a Harley, you know, what the fuck do you expect? You know, it's not your typical,
You don't see it every day.
Motorbike you see on British roads, is it?
Yes. I mean, it's just sometimes you see something, sometimes you see something like, if I see a Jag, like, coming down the road, or a Bentley or something like that, which I see a couple of times maybe, just almost have an impulsion to just salute.
Yeah. Anyways, right. So let's talk about some feedback we've had.
Yes.
Couple of things. First of all, I heard that the TERFs on Mumsnet, for those who don't know what TERFs are, trans exclusionary radical feminists, and their sort of meeting place online is this website called Mumsnet, which really should be called TERFsnet. But they took a real interest in our last video. I don't know why. Well, really? Actually, I do know why. I'm telling a lie.
What, the live episode from Southend?
No. The episode we talked about about me getting monstered and
in the Daily Mail.
But yeah, so yeah, they took an interest in what I had to say about Heather Peto, and I think that this is great schism in the trans activist movement between me and Heather Peto. I'm sure that me and Heather would still agree that TERFs are evil fucks. Okay?
Yes.
The schism isn't about TERFs being evil fucks. The schism is that she's a Blairite and I'm a Corbynista, and obviously we disagree about the direction of the Labour Party. So it's got nothing to do with, if TERFs think that they can drive a wedge between us about them, then that's bullshit. The other feedback I had, and this is the ironic one, a libertarian friend complained that I say fuck too many times. Hey, libertarians are always bollocking on about the freedom of the individual, and yet when individuals exercise their freedom, then they bitch about it. You can't have it both fucking ways.
I know, it's weird, isn't it? Especially because they go on and on about guns and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, she lives out in Switzerland, and of course they're allowed their own assault rifles there. And she sent me a video of her firing off an assault rifle. Said, "Does this scare you?" And I go, "You completely missed the point of what I said. I said, I actually did say in that last show, it would be asinine for anyone to suggest banning guns. In America, what they are trying to suggest is that there should be decent gun control. Background checks before you buy an assault rifle to check that you're not a complete and utter fucking nut."
Well, yeah. That's just one of the most ridiculous things to do. It's like, oh, does this scare you? Yeah, I'm firing an assault rifle. Yeah. It's like,
well, she should know.
No,
she should know. She should know better. I mean, I've been to the United States and I've seen guns fired down, and I lived in South Africa. People own guns in South Africa. Guns don't scare me.
It's like, yeah, you grew up around guns.
Yeah.
It's like
it's what people do with guns, which is the problem.
It's like loads of us have shot guns at some point. I mean, I've shot a gun.
Yeah.
I shot a gun in Poland when I went to Poland for a holiday. It's like, yeah, you're shooting a gun. Cool. Where did you go to shoot it?
Yeah. I just hate this sort of knee-jerk fucking reaction that I'm somehow anti-gun. I'm not anti-gun. I'm pro-gun control. There's a difference.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And I mean, it's people like fucking Alex Jones who puts around any protest for sensible gun control is a threat to the Second Amendment. Because he can't get it up without an assault fucking rifle. And talking about Alex Jones, I actually got some news. Couple bits of news actually about Alex Jones. First of all, he's getting sued again. I guess that isn't really news because he's been sued.
Isn't he getting sued by his ex-wife or something?
Yeah, I was going to get to that in a minute. But for those who don't know, Alex, I'm sure people have heard about Pizzagate. Alex Jones was the guy who perpetuated that this pizza parlor, I forgot whose name escapes me, in Washington D.C. was where there was a pedophile ring, where important politicians were involved and whatever else, and of course it was absolute bullshit. And some guy turned up there with an assault rifle, wanting to know the truth and whatever else. And of course, the owner of this pizza parlor sued Jones for defamation. Anyways, And there was one other circumstance of this happening. Jones had said that there was a yogurt manufacturer in Idaho, which is one of the world's biggest manufacturers of yogurt products, were employing refugees who were rapists and murderers. And both these cases were settled out of court, and basically Jones had to go on air and retract what he said, and of course give some cash. The thing is, that's the outcome Jones wants, because his audience don't give a shit, right? Because they'll just say, "Oh, well, that's the New World Order. For him to continue broadcasting, he has to pander sometimes to the New World Order, blah 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 blah." Well, anyway, there's now another defamation suit against him. Some guy who filmed violence by the alt-right at Charlottesville, if anyone remembers, that there was this big Unite the Right rally last year in Virginia, where basically you had a bunch of neo-Nazis marching through the streets saying Jews will not replace us with tiki torches. I never thought we'd see this in this day and age, but so this guy videoed some of the violence the alt-right were orchestrating against protesters, and Jones basically made out that he was an agent of George Soros and Media Matters, blah blah blah, and basically telling lies about this guy. And well, this guy is now suing him. And by the sounds of it, this guy will not be happy with being paid off.
Monetary, yeah.
Yeah. And this is what we want. We need to get Jones in the witness box and for a lawyer to tear him a new arsehole.
It's been coming.
Yeah, it's been coming. Now, the other Alex Jones news, this one I have mixed feelings about. His ex-wife has been giving various interviews around various media outlets. I saw an interview she gave to the David Paxman show. David Paxman show.
Paxman, yeah.
And she gave an interview to another YouTube channel whose name escapes me.
I think I saw it. She gave an interview to a creationist cat.
That's it. Yeah, creationist cat. Yeah. Now, obviously, much of what she says it didn't surprise me that he violently abused her, and that he was a drug user, and that he's trying to turn their son against her and whatever else. But none of that surprised me about Jones, right? And it's great that she's speaking out, but there's also a part of me that says, I don't know if it's wise for her to say some of this stuff, because it really does sound like this is a private matter between the both of them. She's obviously very upset with Jones and how and the way, the treatment of her kids.
Yes,
and it's cringeworthily bad, some of it, It's like, oh no, this is you doing your dirty laundry in public, and it's not good. I mean, she has set up a site, custodywars.com, to speak out against her former husband Alex.
If it's a thing that might, get more people behind Jones, like from, I don't know, like the more extreme winds of like the men's rights places and that.
No. Custodywars.com is the site his ex-wife has set up.
Oh yeah, I know, but this whole thing in general, like, you might get more people from like the extreme men's rights places, like drumming up support for Alex Jones and doing things like that because of this.
I just think he'll just have his usual bunch of redneck, gun-wielding, ignorant fucks, try and beat up upon her either online or they'll try and stalk her for real,
Yeah, It's a tough one.
I think she is putting herself in harm's way. I hate to say that, but I do fear for her because I know that there have been. I mean, there haven't been any definite links, but we do know that, as I've said previously, that some previous spree shooters have listened to Jones. I can't say that they, you can't sit here and definitely say they went out because of anything Alex Jones said.
No.
But they have been known to be avid Alex Jones part of his audience.
Yeah.
Anyways, talking about dodgy people from the southern states of the United States. Let's talk about Billy Mitchell.
Ah, yes, Billy Mitchell. So for those of you who don't know, basically, the old and new ways of like keeping high scores in games has kind of come to a head. Billy Mitchell's basically, people have posted what they say is proof that he has cheated, or well, not necessarily cheated, but that he has been, say, a lot of his high scores were done using emulators and things like that, which is very much against the rules of places like Twin Galaxies, where high scores for arcade games are kept. And as a result, all of Billy Mitchell's scores have been removed from Twin Galaxies at this point. And and this follows on. I mean, a few weeks ago we had the Todd Rogers scandal, where he was kind of famous for getting a very famous time in the Atari game Dragster, which was then basically proved beyond any reasonable doubt to be impossible to create. And so his scores were removed. And now, perhaps Billy Mitchell, an even bigger case. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, my thoughts are, I've always thought Billy Mitchell's an arsehole. Let me be blunt about it.
I mean, I think he is certainly... I mean, arsehole... I don't know if arsehole is a strong word. I mean, he is... I think he is a guy who kind of comes from the tradition of, like, playing a heel. He does like to play a heel. In the kind of pro wrestling sense of things. Like, he has that demeanour. He's got that kind of douchebag look, like the American tie that he always wears. And especially when it comes to, like, films, like documentary films, like King of Con.
Yeah, but I've seen King of Con, and I always thought there was something dodgy when, the other guy gets the higher score, and then suddenly Billy, produces this video to be, for this old woman to go visit the guy around Twin Galaxy, saying, "Oh well, here's something he needs to watch." Oh, it just so happens to be that Billy's done another high score.
Yeah, well, it's I think King of Con has done more than perhaps anything to certainly perpetuate like the legend of Billy Mitchell as like this great shit heel, which is, I mean, some people say he's a very nice guy in public, but sometimes the truth is not necessarily that far away from what's on the screen.
He has now posted a video where he says he's going to exonerate himself.
Be interesting to see.
He has got proof to that his scores were genuine.
Also, as another follow-up, the scores of Steve Viber have been they've been legitimised more as a result of all of this, now that Billy Mitchell's scores are gone.
Well, I mean, look, I've seen King of Con. Was it the other one, Chasing Ghosts, wasn't it? That was the other.
Chasing Ghosts was another one.
Yeah. It always seemed to me that what were Day and who ran Twin Galaxies and Billy Mitchell were way too powly.
Yes.
It did seem like an old boys' network.
Yeah, I think there is definitely a schism between like the old guard and new guard in these circles. Like I think back in the day,
we should point out that Twin Galaxies is under new ownership. This is why
it is, yes,
possibly this has happened now.
It is, yes, because I think back in like the old days, I mean it was I think in ways it was a lot more closely knit. I mean, like everyone kind of knew each other in person, I guess, back then, back in the 80s, and proof of scores could come in various forms. Like it could come in video form. Someone could have put a picture up with like a score in it, and you know, pictures can be doctored. Or perhaps in some cases, some people said, well, there's no proof, there's literally no proof at all in the archives. There's no video, there's no screenshot. Did someone just say to someone, oh yeah, I got a big high score in this game, because there wasn't any way to verify it. Whereas now, these days, especially when you go to things like the speedrunning community that's cropped up, and like arcade high scores these days, you know, you have to submit in full video. You know, people will go through those videos frame by frame to check that there's no evidence of splicing things together or stuff like that, and it has to be done. Like, people can tell if it's not being done on like what you're supposed to do on, like with an arcade high score, you're supposed to do it on the original board. Like, it has to be the original board. It cannot be an emulator. It cannot be a ROM that is tampered with or unoriginal in any way. And people can prove this now, whereas perhaps they couldn't back in the day.
Ironically, if Billy Mitchell had admitted his score under the main category,
Yes.
which the emulator he used, or supposedly used, he wouldn't have been banned.
Mm.
It would have been a legitimate score.
Yes, it is a strange little story. I mean, it's certainly a story that's going to keep on developing, especially as, you know, the war of words continues to escalate. Because, I mean, obviously, everyone's waiting to see what Billy Mitchell is going to come up with as a way to exonerate himself. And, you know, how much further is this thing going to escalate?
Yeah. Anyways, talking about other people from Florida, you see, I'm the Segway Queen tonight.
You are the Segway Queen. You're endorsing it.
Yeah. I'm going to ask the audience, how would you like me and Kim to make a documentary about why Creed are the worst band of all time?
That'd be a funny one, wouldn't it? Creed, the worst band of all time.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone will remember Creed from you know, in our audience, but you know, let me just give you a snippet. Why, arms wide open. They were this sort of pose. Yeah,
they were like,
you take me higher. You know, basically, Creed were this sort of post-grunge Christian rock band. Whose lead singer was like a poor man's Eddie Vedder, yeah. Eddie Vedder. And it's just, you know, you think I'm doing a really bad impression with arms wide open.
No, that's
just
good, actually.
Type in Creed arms wide open and you will see that is how he actually sings. And it's excruciating.
It was really quite horrible music back in the early 2000s, late 90s.
Yeah. I mean, we've had a bit of success for those who haven't seen it. Kim made a documentary about Oasis, which he interviewed me for.
Yes,
and I think it's a very good documentary about Britpop and
Oasis, specifically
ended Britpop,
which
was Oasis's third album.
Be Here Now. Do you know?
Because
what I mean?
What we didn't mention in that documentary. One important thing, ironic thing, funny enough, is that Kim mentions that Noel was very inspired by Raw Power, which for me is the best Iggy and the Stooges album. Okay, I know everyone says Funhouse,
including me.
I know that's Anthony Bourdain's favourite album of all time. But for me, it is Raw Power. James Williamson added something, right, to it. I don't know quite what it was, like a sonic. Basically, if you listen to Raw Power, it's like a sonic assault. Okay, that's what And this is an album which helps inspire bands like the Ramones, right?
Absolutely.
Very much the blueprint for punk rock. This album, okay. Anyways, the ironic thing is, on the same day, because I went and bought Be Here Now, the day it came out, and while I was on HMV, I noticed that Raw Power had just come out on CD.
Yeah.
remastered
Iggy
version
Pop
of it.
remaster.
And I picked it up. And of course, later on, I found out through Kim that Noel Gallagher was really inspired with the whole overdubbing of guitars by Raw Power.
Yes, and the loudness of it. I think one thing about Be Here Now, which I didn't really mention in the review, I think because, I mean, especially the first two albums, and especially What's the Story, Morning Glory, I mean, people say, you know, obviously it gave them so many comparisons to the Beatles. Those two albums. I mean, obviously songs like Don't Look Back in Anger in particular, Whatever, all that sort of thing. I do think, with the exception of All Around the World, which is very much their attempt at Hey Jude, I do think that in many ways Be Here Now is an attempt by Oasis to try and get away from those Beatles comparisons. In that I do think that a lot of the songs, I mean, especially, and this especially would be the case if they hadn't ingested tons of cocaine and just pushed the songs up to ridiculous lengths. I do think like the songs are a lot harsher on Be Here Now, especially songs like Fading Out, My Big Mouth, I Hope I Think I Know, which is some of the hardest stuff. That's some of the hardest things that Oasis have ever rocked.
Well, it wasn't like they weren't scared to rock. I mean, you think about the first album, Bring It On Down and Columbia.
Oh, yeah.
They were heavy songs.
Mm.
And, of course, on the second album, the title track, Morning Glory.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and, I mean, I remember the build-up to the release of Be Here Now, Alan McGee gave an interview, and he said, I was in the studio listening to the master tapes. I thought, I said, I think Noel's going to deliver me an AC/DC album. Yeah.
There's certainly a lot more American influences, I think, on Be Here Now.
For me, I just don't. I also don't think it was Be Here Now which burst the Britpop bubble. I think there was two big movements in the 90s. I remember. Well, it was three really. Well, it was four. Well, actually, hold on. There was more. But the two I'm thinking, well, first of all, we had grunge, right? And grunge is what kicked, which sort of dragged the people into the 90s.
Yes,
okay?
in many ways.
It's what killed hair metal.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, because I couldn't stand hair metal. And I would say a lot of critics have said, well, the only decent grunge band was Nirvana. I don't agree with that, actually.
Oh, totally disagree.
Exactly. I would say Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, obviously Alice in Chains. I would always say Alice in Chains were more metal than grunge in some ways. They're still a great band, though. And I'd also say the one which everyone forgets is Screaming Trees.
Aye, Flanagan.
Yeah. And Screaming Trees is one of the best grunge albums, after Nevermind, which is Dust, which was actually released in 1996, right at the end.
Yeah.
But
and how about Mad Season? If you want a kind of big Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, Screaming Trees.
And of course, in the lead up to grunge, you had bands like Mudhoney from Seattle.
Yep.
And of course, you also had Mother Love
Bone, Green River, Tad.
Yeah, Tad. Yeah. Now, so a lot of people say, "Oh, well, it was just like, the record companies descended on Seattle and were signing up any band." Do you know? I actually don't think that's necessarily true of grunge, right? But I do think it was true of Britpop and of the and when punk broke in the United States. Now, let me explain. For me, I think that there were too many bands with bowl haircuts, playing guitars, and the record companies went, "Oh, we'll sign them up, give them a 50,000. Yeah, if it is £50,000, go make a record."
Absolutely. Right? I mean, how else do you explain bands like Gay Dad?
Yeah, or Elastica.
I like a bit of Elastica.
No, they were a derivative.
I always liked Line Up.
Yeah, or Northern Uproar. I mean,
oh God, yeah, that's a bad one.
even Cooler Shaker. Now, okay, Christopher Mills had a famous mother, I know that, and whatever else. But, I mean, they only made, one half decent album.
Yes.
Yeah.
Their first one, K.
There were loads and loads of bowl haircutted guitar strumming bands, and I just think it was the market was saturated. Now, in the United States at the same time, punk broke. Now, I have to explain to people, punk didn't really break in the United States in the 70s as it did here.
No.
Yes, you had pockets of alternative music, particularly around New York.
Yeah, they were very wholly different scenes. Like, I mean, you had like the NYHC scene. You had the scene like more of like West Coast of bands like Dead Kennedys and that.
Yeah, but punk never really broke commercially in America until Nirvana. And I know people go, well, didn't you just call them a grunge band? And essentially, Nirvana were a punk band, okay? I'm not going to get into semantics here. They were essentially a punk band, okay? Yeah. When Kurt Cobain killed himself, that actually left a gap in the market because that was the that was sort of the death of grunge, okay? This is basically, at this point, bubbling under the scene had been bands like Green Day, The Offspring, Bad Religion, NoFX. These were punk bands in the traditional sense of the word. They were punk.
Yeah.
And this really blew up. I mean, you know, Green Day sold 10 million albums with Dookie, and The Offspring sold 20 million with Smash. You know, this was unheard of. And of course, this is what, you know, Nirvana had already laid the groundwork. You know, the 90s were really the alt rock decade, was really the alt rock decade in the United States. You think of so many bands, even outside the whole punk thing, like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yes, definitely influenced by punk, but they weren't strictly, you know.
Yeah.
And so basically what happened was, especially with the punk scene in America, was, yes, Green Day obviously have got talent. The Offspring, well, the Smash is a good album, but I have to say they were patchy after that.
I was never much of a fan of those.
Well, yeah, funny enough, I think Smash is still the best-selling album on an independent label.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, no effects. I mean, give Fat Mike his due. Fuck, mate. I mean, they've been going for years and fucking years.
They have been going for a long time.
And they are really, really good.
As have bands like Bad Religion, bands like Pennywise as well.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, of course, I forgot to mention Pennywise, yeah.
Right. Well,
now, these bands were, like, good. But then you had bands underneath that who no one fucking remembers now, right? And it just became over-fucking saturated.
Lit.
Right? Because the record company said, oh, there's a shilling to be made here in this, so we're going to sign up every band who can play, you know, who's got spiky haircuts and plays 3.
Yeah. Yeah, you did get a lot of crap.
And it is the record companies which kill this stuff.
I think you did also get some music like from bands that had been like more like indie, like Toilers for a while. Like, I don't know, and I think like bands like Nudder Surf having like a hit single back in those days. I think, well, okay, that's a bit more deserved, but then you did get a lot of crap too.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but that's the problem. It gets oversaturated, and I think that's what happened with Britpop, and that's what happened with the punk scene in the United States. And
is that also true of the punk scene in the UK, like back in the day, 1977 and all that? Did that become a bit oversaturated by the end, as short time as it lasted?
To be honest, I think it was slightly different. Yeah, I understand where you're going with it. I think it was slightly different in that I think, funny enough, it was often said that most of these punk bands could barely play their instruments at the beginning, but of course they learn to play their instruments as they go along. And so the music developed.
Yeah.
You know, in 10 years, we went from the Sex Pistols to the Smiths.
Yeah.
You know, the whole alternative rock scene developed in this country.
Speaking of Smiths, Morrissey's been in the news again. Hey, I gave him a segue. God, he always just... I mean, how much more is it going to take? I mean, well, his legacy is kind of completely tarnished as it is, really. But, I mean, I think it's getting to the stage where people just don't even want a Smiths reunion by this point.
Do you know? I don't think there'll ever be a Smiths reunion.
No, I don't think that all the money in the world probably wouldn't make it happen at this point. I mean, you never want to say never, but
having said that, of course, I remember the bearded guy in ABBA who's always the one who talks to the press.
Benny.
Bjorn. No, Bjorn, that's him.
No, Benny's the bearded guy.
I'm not a fan of ABBA, by the way.
Well, I am, so Benny's the bearded guy.
Bjorn always, I remember I saw an interview and he said, "Oh no, the reunion will never happen. It will never happen. It will never happen." Well, what's happened?
Well,
they're a reunion. Yeah, they're getting back together, aren't they?
Are they?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know.
I read it. They were getting back together. Yeah.
You must be joking. Well, if they are, then that's... Where can I get tickets?
Well, I just think that basically they probably offered a lot of money.
Okay, now it's actually not a joke.
No, it's not. I told you.
Oh, hang on. A virtual reunion tour. They're getting back together in digital format. Fuck that. So they don't actually have to be together to do this. I see.
Right, I got that wrong. Well, I mean, the Clash never reformed, which is probably a good thing. And of course, they can't reform now. Having said that, Alice in Chains reformed, didn't they, after Lane Stanley died?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think the thing with that is, I mean, I do think that, guys like, I mean, aside, obviously, Lane eventually, succumbed to drugs, as expected.
Yeah, kind of ironic considering all the songs he wrote were about
death and drugs.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I do think, I mean, as obviously as sad as that was, I mean, I respect like the other guys for getting back together because, I mean, I think, they just obviously Jerry Cantrell, Mike Inez, and the drummer, I forget his name, obviously wanted to play music together again. So you know, respect to that. And the lead single they got was good. I mean, it's different. I mean, I don't mind some of their reunion stuff. It's different music to what Alice in Chains was. It's not so dark and depressing.
I mean, I don't get me wrong. I do like Alice in Chains. I
love them.
I mean, if you want dark and depressing, well, you know my thoughts on Radiohead's "OK Computer." Everyone knows it's one of the greatest albums ever released, and me, it's music to slit your wrist to.
You like Noel Gallagher thinks that.
I can't stand it. I mean, it's not like I don't appreciate the musicianship, which Radiohead have, because they obviously have, a bundle oodles of it.
Yeah.
But I find Radiohead depressing.
Yes, they are. I mean, I like that about them personally, but I mean, their music.
It's like
isn't for everyone.
Suede would be a good band if they replaced Brett Anderson. I can't stand his voice.
I love Brett Anderson's voice.
I can't stand it. I just can't.
So distinctive.
It's a screeching voice to me.
And he's so beautiful.
It's like what my mate Laurie said. I'd like Dexy's Midnight Runners if it wasn't for Kevin Rowland. What do you mean? He said I can't stand him singing his voice.
Oh, these are all bands that I love. I love Dexys too.
Well, I like Dexys. I'm not saying these are bad bands. I'm just saying I can't. I mean, I like Suede and Radiohead are just two bands from the 90s. I couldn't get into.
No.
Sorry, I just one of those things.
Well, yeah, I think everyone has a band like that. I mean, I I struggle with Pink Floyd past metal, really. With the exception of Animals. Can't stand the rest of their stuff.
Most people know. I mean, Pink Floyd. I've never been a massive fan. I mean, I'll say this: Dark Side of the Moon. Yeah, it's a good album. But I would say for me, for the most people I know who are really into Pink Floyd, they always say when Roger Waters died, Pink Floyd died.
Huh?
Yeah.
Roger Waters isn't dead.
Yeah. No, I didn't say. I said they said when Roger Waters left, Pink Floyd died. That was what they. In other words,
yes,
they don't like Momentary Lapse of Reason.
That's a terrible album.
And the Division Bell or whatever the fuck it was.
Mind you, I hate The Wall. I really hate The Wall. I think The Wall is 2 hours of my life I'll never get back.
Did you ever hear the story about how about when Bob Geldof was offered the role in the film?
Oh, what happened?
Well, anyways, he was in the back of a taxi and his manager was offering him a role. And Bob Geldof was going, "Oh, fucking hate Pink Floyd, fucking progressive rock. I'm a fucking punk. I'm not gonna fucking do it." So anyways, him and his manager get out of the cab, and the taxi driver goes back to his depot, picks up the phone and rings his brother, who happens to be Roger Waters. Yeah. You've seen the film, I take it, of The Wall?
Yeah.
Right. You know there's that bit where Bob Geldof has to jump into a pool of blood and puke and whatever else.
Yeah, some shit like that.
Yeah, he gets absolutely covered in blood and puke. Well, he got covered. He got covered in blood and puke when he went round to Michael Hutchins' parents' house to ask for his belt back.
Fucking hell.
Some people are not going to get that joke.
That's dark.
Oh, you want dark? All right.
No.
You know, no. I can get even darker than that. Okay. Bobby McFerrin, you know, don't worry, be happy. You know, the guy does a cappella, right? Right. You know, he uses parts of it. He slaps parts of his body for rhythm, right?
Yes.
You know, right. He doesn't use any instruments, right? But he got the idea of slapping parts of his body when he was on tour with Ike and Tina, and he accidentally walked into their dressing room after a show.
Fuck's sake.
Yeah, I know. See, I told you I could go. You want me to go? I could even. The sickest joke I know is this one. The Queen Mum wasn't the only one to top a ton before she died. Diana got up to 120.
Oh, Jesus. And on that note, I think we're about out of time.
That's another 200 subscribers gone.
Yep, well done. Yep. This will get monetized soon enough, maybe about 2024 or something like that. We'll get those 1,000 subs yet. Alright, it's okay. So that is going to do it for this episode of Two Trannies Talk. I have been Kim Justice.
And I've been Sophia Botha.
And we will see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye!